So, what I want to talk to you about today is grace and accountability and how they can work together, and how sometimes they don't work together. Sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up for not saying or doing the right thing, whatever the right thing is. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes we get ourselves into trouble when we're speaking to people. We might put our foot in our mouths or become reactive to something that someone says or does. And we realize later on that we could have handled it better. It happens. But sometimes we're really hard on ourselves in those moments, and harder than we should be. And I think it's important that as we think about showing compassion and giving grace to other people when they miss the mark, forgiving folks and saying, that's cool, it's okay, I understand you're under a lot of stress. We don't always give ourselves that same grace, and sometimes we need to look in the mirror and say, it's okay, you had a tough day, you are stressed out. So that's what I think is sometimes lacking in conversations that we have with ourselves. But the other thing that is a big piece of that, or the other side of that, is accountability. When I'm talking about accountability, I'm talking about how we hold ourselves accountable for when we do miss the mark. So yes, it's important to give ourselves grace. It's important to forgive ourselves. It's important to give ourselves some room and some space around just the stressors that are happening in our lives. And we're not always going to get every interaction perfect. But sometimes we give ourselves a little bit too much leeway in the way that we've behaved. So what I'm trying to say is that we can give ourselves grace and still hold ourselves accountable, right? There's a way that we can say, it's okay that you are stressed and missed the mark, and maybe said or did something that you really didn't want to say or do. But the piece that sometimes gets missed is the accountability piece, where we may need to sometimes take an action to correct that. So yes, you give yourself some grace for missing, having a poor interaction with somebody, but the accountability piece means that you go back to them and say, I'm sorry, or, gee, I realized that I was kind of hot, tempered when I spoke to you, and that's not usually how I want to present myself, and I know better, but I didn't do better that day, and I really, I'm sorry if that made you feel uncomfortable, or I just need to let you know that I realize that I might have been out of line, or just reactive. That's a piece that doesn't always happen. And so there's a value in bringing grace and accountability together, and we don't need to separate them. So giving yourself the room to make mistakes is great. It's necessary. It's wonderful. It's healthy. But it can go too far when we say, well, I don't care, what I said to that person. I was having a bad day. So, I'm giving myself some grace. I can, just say, oh, well. No, it's not, oh, well. It's, yeah, you forgive yourself, but you also do what you can to resolve it. Do what you can to rectify or repair if there is repair that needs to be made. So that is something that is on my mind a lot at work, and out in the community and at home, and just something I wanted to highlight for you today, so that we can all remember in our interactions with each other to have that better balance of being thoughtful and forgiving and understanding and offering grace, but also holding ourselves accountable for what we say, how we say it, who we say it to, and for trying to make it right if we left things in a way that that didn't go well. So that's it for me today. I hope that you're all doing well, and I'll see you next time.